the University of Missouri and the Mizzou Law School. She worked as an assistant prosecutor in Kansas City, and like a lot of great Democratic leaders, some of whom we will introduce this evening, was a part of county government as Jackson County prosecutor before being elected Missouri State Auditor. She was elected in 2006 to the United States Senate, to a seat that used to belong to a gentleman named Harry Truman, of whom you may have heard, and was re-elected in 2012. And we all remember, we remember that year, 2012. And you remember what we were hearing about this time that year? Claire McCaskill can't get re-elected. Missouri's turning more conservative. It's turning more red. She can't get re-elected. There's no way she can win. We're hearing that again this year. And Claire McCaskill has shown that she will overcome odds and will win re-election. We know she can win because she's not going to be outworked. She's not going to be outworked in the Senate. She was one of the leaders in helping to forge a compromise during the recent Trump shutdown, continuing to fight in the U.S. Senate for our veterans, leading investigations into sex trafficking, helping America's families have access to quality health care. We know she can win again, too, because she listens to Missourians. How many blessed town halls have you been to in the last few months? That takes guts. And it makes sure that the views of ordinary Missourians are going to be heard in Washington. But she's also going to get reelected because we know where she stands. There's a pretty low BS tolerance in this state. And she knows that. And she'll tell us what's on her mind. Now, it's no secret to the people in this room, I'm a fan. But I want to tell you real quickly, I am not the biggest Claire McCaskill fan at my house. Every time I see the senator, my wife tells me, be sure and tell her how much I love her. And my body is a St. Louisan, Dogtown, South St. Louis. You talk about a low BS tolerance. No, the people there don't take it. And our favorite Claire McCaskill moment was back in 2016 when Congressman Gingrich, talking about how plain spoken then candidate Donald Trump was, compared him to our President Truman. An insult, of course, no Missouri Democrat is going to stand for. Claire's response, which my wife repeated so often, was that Harry Truman would have said about Mr. Trump that he was a phony, bloviating goddamn fool. Oh, my wife loved that line. Man, she loved that line. I do want to disagree on one point, though. I'm not sure that I would call him a phony, bloviating goddamn fool. I think he's an absolutely genuine bloviating fool. Like our President Truman, we can always count on our Democratic senator to speak her mind. Somebody told President Truman once, give him hell, Harry, and he said, I just tell the truth and they think it's hell. Let's hear some real truth now from our senator. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Claire McCaskill.
There we go. How's that? Okay. So, big crowd for the Boone County Chili Supper. I've been to some before. I don't think I ever remember seeing this many people at a Boone County Democratic Chili Supper. So I think that's a really good sign. Let me first talk a little bit about Columbia. And I don't remember the first Boone County Democratic function I went to, but I know it was probably soon after we moved to Columbia when I was in the 4th grade, because my mother immediately got busy. And I think she was a Democratic committee woman within a year or 18 months when we moved here. And so I grew up in a household not that far from here, on Chalmers Road, just off Rollins, not that far from Russell Boulevard. And what was normal in our household in an election year were stacks of envelopes sponges, stamps, pamphlets, going to stump speakings, going to ham breakfasts, going to that time called Jackson Days. And what my mom always believed in was that people like you were the engine that ran this democracy. Yes. And she taught me that as a young girl. And I will admit to you, there have been some campaigns where I've gotten away from that. I will admit to you, I will confess to you, that there have been campaigns where I got seduced by the notion it was about making sure our polling was accurate, making sure our TV ads were good, making sure we had the right buys on the radio. And I looked over the necessity of touching people, of seeing people, of motivating people to do more. And this year, I want you to know, I will not make that mistake. I learned a lot in this building. This is where I had my very first job. Those of you that are old enough, do you remember Tina Fabrics? Oh, yeah. My first job was selling fabric in Tina Fabrics, which was right around the corner. And I got the job when I was late in my 14th year, basically right as I was turning 15 that summer. And I worked there all through high school. My mom had to bring me, or my dad had to bring me, or my older sister had to bring me until I got my driver's license. But I will tell you how I'm going to bring this story home. Because it was in Tina Fabrics. I was there by myself, measuring fabric and selling fabric to customers, when a couple of people walked in, and before I knew it, I realized they'd talked me out of about $60 with one of those scams where they said, I need change for the 20, well, give me back the 5 and give me the 10. You know, I was 16 years old and I didn't realize I was being victimized by a con. I want you to know I learned from that, and that's why I watch out for Republicans. So let's talk first about the positives about this year. There are so many positives. People are motivated. Yes, I've done, as of tomorrow morning, I will have done 51 town halls in a year. The vast majority of those town halls were in places where I'm not very popular. Where when I went there in 2009 talking about the Affordable Care Act and how we were going to try to get more health care more affordably to more people, I ran into a lot of ugliness in those same places. A lot of anger, a lot of vitriol. Guess what happened this time? Goodness gracious, I got a standing ovation in Sykeston. There was a different group of people that were showing up. I was so surprised when I got the standing ovation in Sykeston. I was looking around the room going, where am I? Am I in Sykeston? And all of a sudden I realized everybody in the room was looking around going, you're a Democrat? You're a Democrat? They were just as surprised as I was. And I'll tell you, that's going on everywhere. Everywhere. There is a sense of urgency that we speak this year in this state that we will go no further. We will go no further towards a government that is marginalizing people who need opportunity, who is marginalizing people who look different, who are marginalizing people who, based on who they love, who are marginalizing those people who need economic opportunity. This is the year that I think we can begin to turn this thing around and restabilize our government with something more towards the center. Now, I am also a realist, and I will tell you that there'll be times that some people in the base of the Democratic Party will get upset with me because they will think I'm not saying enough or doing enough for a pure progressive view. I get that. But I gotta tell you, here's my deal. I want to get things done. I want to find common ground. The rhetoric, it gets us all worked up, right? But it doesn't help people. And if we're just going to have rhetoric, then people are going to get more and more cynical about their government and the fact that we can't accomplish anything. So when I can, I will find that common ground, and that's what happened last weekend. we found a dozen Republicans that were willing to stand with us and say to leadership of both parties, we will not go away until we get a vote on DACA and Dreamer protection on the floor of the Senate. The Democrats all were there, but we have to have Republican votes. So I was proud to be part of a group that identified Republican votes to help us get those DACA protections. And I predict that will occur because of our work trying to find that consensus and compromise. So I think there's a lot of good news here in Missouri. Now, let's talk about some bad news. Now, I got to tell you, I am willing to admit that I'm experienced. Dangerous thing to do in my line of work. Because what people really want now, ostensibly, is somebody who's never done anything before in government. Right? It's like hiring a football coach to run the hospital because he knows how to win. I'm a better senator because I was an auditor. I'm a better senator because I was a prosecutor. I'm a better senator because I worked in county government and state government, and I understand the roles of various governments and the supports they need. I am a better senator for you because of that experience. I reject the notion that we need to hire people who have never done this before.
Thank you.
Now, we have a governor that ran on that. Right?
Yeah.
The governor, he was going to do things differently.
Yeah. He is.
He was going to shake things up.
Yeah.
He was going to ride into Jefferson City and vanquish all those dirty, nasty politicians of both parties that were corrupt and bloated and ruining the government. He was going to clean things up. He was going to do things that literally no other governor had ever done. Little did we know it was sex in the basement. And then we have Josh Hawley. Once again, he was going to be the one that was going to clean up Jefferson City. He was the outsider that was going to come in and sweep out all that corruption in Jefferson City. He was going to come in and he promised no matter what, he wasn't going to be like those other politicians that get elected to one job just to use it to climb a ladder to the next one. That may set a world record for the quickest broken promise in America. He hadn't even found the bathroom before he was running for another job. Now, he said he was going to clean everything up. He was going to be the guy that went after corruption, and all of the corruption was going to crumble under his withering investigations and aggressive prosecutions. But when it comes to investigating pay-to-play allegations against his biggest donor, he's hiding. When it comes to investigating the dark money swirling around the governor, he's nowhere to be found. When it comes to investigating the allegations of the governor's sexual misconduct, he's invisible. Once again, lots of promises, all of them broken. He is not doing what he told the people of Missouri he would do as Attorney General. What makes anybody think he would do any differently if he were to become a United States Senator? Josh Hawley is so busy using the office he just got elected to run for another. He is breaking his promise to Missourians. And you know what? I will tell you this. Not all Missourians love me. In fact, a bunch of them can't stand me. But I'm not afraid to say where I stand, and I certainly never hide. So now comes the part where I want to motivate you. We have a historic ballot this year in Missouri. For the first time in the history of our state, the entire Democratic ballot is made up of women. Now, our friend Cortland Sykes, I think he says we're screaming career-obsessed banshees.
With snakes in your head.
Snakes in our head?
Yeah.
That can't figure out, because of all the snakes in our head, what we want to make for dinner. I will tell you, I am so proud of Nicole. She is doing an amazing job as state auditor and as a mother and as somebody who cares about her community. I'm very proud of her. So here's what we need from you. I know it's fun to come to these and see friends, and I know it's easy to get agitated about what's going on in our country right now. And I need all of you to do two things for me. One, I need to make sure you all know, and many of you do because you've heard me give this part of this speech before, I need you to understand about the Trump swear jar. Now, what's the Trump swear jar? When I was a young prosecuting attorney in Kansas City, I got in a bad habit of cussing because I was trying to fit in. I was the only woman in the office, and all the men cussed a lot. And I thought, well, if I cuss, I can be one of the guys, and I'll be getting big cases, and I'll fit right in. And an older lawyer took me aside and said, quit doing that. That's like tacky, and you're classier than that, so I'm going to put a jar here in your office, and every time I hear you say a cuss word, I'm going to make you walk in here and put $1 in that jar. So here's how the Trump swear jar works. How many people do you see every day that grab you by the arm and say, can you believe it about this Donald Trump? Right? And they want to say, but what about he said today? And what about that tweet? And can you believe he said this? And what about Stormy Daniels? And what about this? And what about that? Every time someone comes up to you and says that, say, you've got to put $5 in the Trump swear jar, and it's located at ClaireMcCaskill.com. Because here's something that's really exciting that's going on in this campaign. And I'm more proud of this than I've anything in a long time. We've had just in 2017, just in 2017, we had 107,000 donors to our campaign. 90,000 of those had never given me a contribution before in their lives. 90% of those contributions were less than $100. Our average contribution for the year was right around $60. So I'm not saying that I am not collecting checks that have commas in them. I am saying what's making my heart go pitter-patter are how many people out there that want to give a little, just a little. And that's what I want you to go from here, saying to your friends, give a little. Just give $5, give $10. And more importantly, sign up to volunteer. We're going to have a massive grassroots organization. We're going to have more people on the ground in this state working on this campaign than has ever been on the ground working in a campaign before. I promise you that. We have laid out the most aggressive grassroots plan that has ever been devised in this state, but it will not work without volunteers. So just because you've never made a phone call, don't think you won't this year. And just because you've never knocked on a door, don't think we can't get you this year. Because this is the year that you've got to decide that this isn't about me. This is about our values. This is about how we see our country. And most importantly, how we view our state. And whether or not we're going to be a state that has proposals coming out of Jefferson City that make us hang our head in shame. Or whether we're going to have a state where Jefferson City understands the value of higher education and understands the value of opportunity inequality and understands the value of economic distress being relieved by safety net programs. I think we can do this. I have never been more confident than I am at this moment. I know it is weird for me to say that, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart, Because I have been all over this state and I have looked people in the eye, and people want to make sure that we hang on to stability, consistency, and frankly, a government that we can be proud of. So help me. Help me. Because when you help me, you are helping something that's way more important than me. I am so proud to work my you-know-what off for you, and I will continue to do that every day from now until the votes are all counted the first Tuesday in November. And on that night, we will be able to say, not so fast, Republicans, not so fast. Missouri is not bright red. Thank you guys very, very much.